Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I do believe is a bonus episode of The Brothers Take. Now, I am Eric, one of the three brothers of The Brothers Take, and I do believe Chris is also doing another one of these. This is not the first episode, nor is it the second episode, depending on which one gets released first, either Chris's or mine. But this is just a little bonus recap episode. Chris done one, I'm doing one, and it's the idea of talking about five of our favorite games or memorable games from 2023. I do believe Last Call Gaming did something like this, and we're also doing something similar. We're not going to lie, it definitely inspired us to do it. Last Call Gaming, we've done a few episodes with them. They're awesome people, so do check them out. But for this particular bonus episode, I'm talking about five of the games for 2023 that stuck with me. That really, I'm not 100% sure if resonate is the right word, but definitely left an impact. Left something that was like, you're tickling the right spot there with what you're doing. And so, for this bonus episode, yes, without further ado of repeating myself, I'm actually just going to get right straight into it with these five games. So, this is not exactly in any particular order, in that I'm not saying that number 4 is better than number 5 or anything like that. It's just five games that popped in my head. But with the first game I'm going to talk about is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And the reason I talk about this one is first of all, it's a gorgeous game. It's a beautiful game of just getting into the world of Star Wars, something that me and my brothers, we grew up with. We grew up with Star Wars. We grew up with the original trilogy, and then the prequel trilogy. Sorry, came into cinemas when we were kids. We watched it. We loved them. Right? We loved them because it was made for our generation. I know a lot of the older people hated it because you're touching something as beloved as the original trilogy. And I'm going to say something controversial about Star Wars and say I don't mind the Metachlorians. I like the Metachlorians. I feel that honestly, a spacefaring society would have a scientific explanation for that stuff. So yeah, Metachlorians make sense to me. But it's weird that in today's society, of us having so much Star Wars products, that we're not actually getting a lot of video games. So I suppose that is another thing that makes this game stand out to me. We're not getting a lot of Star Wars video games. We were supposed to get Knights of the Old Republic, a RPG game made originally by BioWare, and I think they're coming back to remake it. I don't know what the story is with that. I don't know if that got cancelled or if that's just on hold. But we do have this game, and the reason I bring up Knights of the Republic and I bring up this game is because it's an RPG. It has RPG elements of customizing Cal Kestis. Everything about Cal Kestis, which I loved. It wasn't in the first one you customize the lightsaber handle and eventually the lightsaber blade. In this one, from the get-go, customizing the handle, the blade. When you unlock the blaster, you get to customize the blaster, and you get to customize Cal Kestis' appearance. Not just changing the color of his clothes and his poncho like you did in Fallen Order, but now it's fully changing his entire get-up. How does he look? Is he wearing the poncho? Is he not wearing the poncho? Is it jackets? Can you make him look like Han Solo? And I really liked that. And you're changing, you can't change his hair color. He's always going to have that hair color, but you're changing what his hair looks like. So are you making him look more rough and ragged? Is he a bit more kind of clean shaven? Does he look like a Jedi? Whatever it is. And I think that's so cool to be able to put that into our hands of designing our Jedi, and actually being able to get to use a blaster. Again, that's the thing. In the Star Wars property, we don't have a lot of games, but now we have a game where we get that lightsaber and the blaster. Now, I don't particularly like how to do. I wish I had more freedom with the blaster, but still, that's so nice to put both of those into our hands. Now, me and Chris, we did do a spoiler cast on this, so there are some things in it, especially with the story, that we don't really like. But the traversing, this kind of element of taking like Uncharted, which is a series that we love in the Brothers Take, and taking Star Wars, which we love, and then slapping them together, just really gets these two things that we love, it slaps them together and makes something quite special for me personally in this year of amazing games. And it just graphically, it's beautiful, and it has these amazing set pieces that still stuck with me. That I'm just like, wow. And a plot twist I did not see coming, to be honest. And just really, like, I am actually at a stage where I am sick of the Empire. Just do anything but the Empire. You have thousands of years to deal with Star Wars. For some reason, we're always with the Empire. But with this, it works. Dealing with the Empire and bringing in the droids of the Separatists as well, bringing that area. It's just lovely. And it's also lovely to see fresh characters. I think there's only 2 characters in it that are pre-established, which is, which is nice. Because again, in Star Wars, we're just dealing with, when you have the TV shows, whatever, we're either just dealing with the Empire and then dealing with these characters that were made. And so it's nice to see new characters, nice to see that their story isn't going to intertwine with the Mandalorian. Let him do his thing, and then let Cal Kestis and his crew do their thing. So I just, this was truly like a special game to me. A bit long, but wow. Just like, it's great to jump into the Star Wars world. And I hope we are getting a Knights of Old Republic remake, to be honest. But speaking of remakes, next game, again, as I said, I'm not saying this in any particular order, but the next game I'm going to talk about is Resident Evil 4 remake. The original Resident Evil 4 released on PS2 all them years ago, and then released on PS3 and the Wii and the GameCube and PC and probably the PSP and probably the Kinect and probably was actually recently enough released on the VR, released on everything. But this was a game that introduced me properly to Resident Evil. We had the movies that introduced me to Resident Evil, and then we have now this game, which was the first one I ever played of the Resident Evil series, and was the one that helped me essentially overcome my phobia of zombies. Probably because of the fact that they're not your typical zombies, but it helped me overcome this horror fear. And not that I would never watch horrors. Do not ask me to watch Friday the 13th. Not gonna happen. Not watching Nightmare on Elm Street. Not gonna happen. If there was a game of it, yeah, I'd probably play it, because somehow I can play horror games easier than I can watch horror movies. And I suppose that's just the control I have to become a badass like Leon, because Leon is an absolute badass in this game. And it's just beautiful to see this world brought into this new light while still giving us something fresh and new. Being able to play as badass Leon again, fighting the terrifying Ganados, and somehow make the Ganados more terrifying. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. They were terrifying. They were like wowzers. And just like seeing the village, seeing the castle, seeing the island brought into a new life, but none of it overstaying its welcome. Because I do remember with the original, I think the castle overstays its welcome. It's just way too long. So this time everything is much more, it's brought down to a much more reasonable level. And it's such a fun game to replay. I think the guys making Resident Evil, they're just doing such a good job making these extremely fun replayable games that it almost feels like I've gone back to that PS2, PS3 era, because those games were just so fun to go back in and replay, because you're not spending ages with like onboard. You don't have these ridiculously long tutorials. You don't have these ridiculously long intros. You're Leon. You do a bit of walking. You get to a house. You shoot a guy. Turns out there's more guys. Before you know it, you're in the village and you're getting swarmed. Like, it is straight into it. There's no messing around with this. And the same with Resident Evil 3, same with Resident Evil 2, Village, 7, all of them. You're straight into it. They don't mess around. And that is just something that is great to have. So again, you have the previous game I was talking about. It's great to jump back in the Star Wars world, and with this game, it's just great to play a game that offers this great story, offers these good performances, and then just also gives you a quick, easy game to play. I pumped so many hours in that game because of like things like challenges and unlocks. Never underestimate the power of challenges and unlocks. They're awesome. It's so fun. It like again with Jedi Survivor, you got all these cosmetics unlocked. They don't help you. There is no benefits to changing Cal Kestis' hairstyle, but hell, it's a fun thing to unlock. It's a fun thing to change. Same with Leon. There's no benefit. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. But say there's no benefits to giving Leon shades, but there is. That's another thing that's awesome about this. The attention to goddamn detail in Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you're wearing shades as Leon and you throw a flashbang, it doesn't affect Leon. Compared to when he doesn't have the shades on, he actually gets affected by it. Which is just nuts for its attention to detail. And just the combat itself is so fun. I remember playing the demo and just being like, yes, this is awesome. Because somehow it's super action-packed, yet you're still on edge. There's just this beautiful balance between the two. And I mentioned graphics. The floor, the shiny floor of the castle is just awesome. But yeah, it's just brilliant to come back into this world and to be reminded of things, but then to also give you that fresh new take that you're like, ooh, wasn't expecting that. And so it kind of keeps you on your toes that way. Another then third game that really caught my eye and just blew me out of the water. I was amazed with it because I do believe many times before Adam Chris kept saying that the first one was really good. I wasn't getting into the first one, and eventually I got around to play the first one, and I loved the first one, so I was like, right, I gotta get the second one, and that's Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2. Again, me and Chris, we do a spoiler cast. I do believe we actually did that with Last Call Gaming. So, and that's a really good one. It's a fun one, and that's a game where I was just like genuinely shocked at things. Like Jedi Survivor, there was twists and turns in that I was not expecting. There was stuff in the Venom. Very much I was expecting that, so that's not really a surprise. But there was other things in this game where I was like, what? That person? What? That thing happened? And yeah, I was just really blown away by even just the duality of the stories of Spider-Man and Spider-Man. So Peter Parker and Miles Morales. After duality of the stories, that Miles Morales is that coming-of-age Spider-Man story that we get with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. We get those coming-of-age stories, and Miles Morales gives us that. And then Peter Parker gives us the story of essentially the aging Spider-Man. The Spider-Man's been through it. The Spider-Man who's going through tough things. That Spider-Man who is, he's got that. I suppose the Spider-Man 3 of it. The Spider-Man 2 and 3 of it. The balancing of life. The fact that Peter Parker starts off with a job, and like that, he has no job anymore, and he has to try to get another job. And even just the opening alone to that game, I was instantly hooked. I was just like, wowzers. And again, there's a few things with the game, like pretty much all the games Virgo mentions. There's a few things where I'm like, okay, could have done that better, or that's a bit weird and stuff like that. But it just graphically and the fluidity of the game, like you actually forget how big this map is and how fast you're going with the swinging, and when you do the web wings, and there's like these wind tunnels along the city that makes you go faster. So again, you're going faster than what you were already going, which was already really fast through a city, and it's just rendering at such a quick pace. It's nuts. It's like Ghost of Tsushima rendering, except with Ghost of Tsushima, the only time you can go that fast is with fast travel, which is really fast. And also Ghost of Tsushima is awesome. Honorable mention, even though it was like 2020. But again, it's so weird that for the first game, I just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get it. In this game, then I was like, boom, boom, boom. I did everything. I cleared everything, got all the collectibles. I haven't 100%ed the game. I didn't get all the trophies, but in terms of getting the collectibles and the costumes and all stuff, I got everything because I freaking loved this game. I was like, this is such... Insomniac is nailing up the Spider-Man games, because when I did go back and play the first one, I was in tears by the end. I was like, oh no, how did you do it? This is so good. And so I just had to play the second one. Now, the second one, I didn't cry, but I was slightly expecting myself to slightly tear up. But I was absolutely on board with this game, and just the way the two characters, their stories unfold and their motivations for doing the different things and them overcoming their own unique challenges and evolving into what heroes are supposed to be, which is not taking the easy road. It's about having that great power and using it for great responsibilities. So that, and then we also had Spider-Verse. They're just Spider-Man had a very good year this year, in my opinion. At number 4, my God, I'm on the 4th game already. It's another horror game. I mean, Dead Space was awesome, but this is not Dead Space. But Dead Space Remake was awesome too. But this game, just wowzers. I got it because I heard there was good reviews. It was getting good reviews, getting a lot of attention. I was like, hey, I think me and Chris were like, hey, let's get it. Let's try it out. Alan Wake 2. What the fuck? What? Just, I played the start. I'm like, graphically, it's really good. And I was like, I understand if people play the start and go, ooh, the script and the way that people are talking is a bit weird. I had this whole theory. Turns out my theory was wrong. Or is it? I don't know. Because that's the beautiful thing about Alan Wake 2. Graphically, it's amazing. Story, it's like mind-boggling. It's like, holy crap. Like, this is a directed movie. This, or even TV show. This would absolutely work as a TV show, but by putting it into your hands, just adds that extra level of fear. Because when you're roaming around as Alan, and you're just hearing your voice, you're hearing these voices around you, just saying Alan's name in these whispers, and sometimes it's aggressive whispers, and you see these shades and shadows coming at you, and you don't know which one's an enemy, and you don't know which one is. So you don't want to be wasting supplies. And then you have Saga Story, who's tumbling down the rabbit hole of sanity. This sort of Cthulhian-esque, this Lovecraftian style story of the perfectly normal person. She's got a husband, she's got a daughter, she's an FBI agent, she's investigating a murder, and then it just spirals down and down and down and down she goes into the madhouse, into this absolute insane, mind-bending conundrum of what is real and what isn't. And by the end of it, honestly, you're still a little bit like, what is real and what isn't? You don't know. And same with Wake. Wake's story. And playing those stories intertwined, like you can play them in whatever way you want. You can do all of Saga's first, then do all of Wake's, or all of Wake's first, then all of Saga's. I played them intertwined, and it was just this. What I found really good was playing a Saga, and then she'd be talking to Wake, and then you play Wake's part, and then it builds to that point with the conversation that Saga was just having with Wake, and you're getting the both different sides, and you're like, oh no, it's like one of those moments in any sort of movie, horror movie, romance movie, and you have that moment where someone goes back for somebody and then they go a different way, and you're like, oh, they were so close. Actually, Game of Thrones is full of that, certainly in the early episodes, where if Arya had just went there, she would have found them, but decided to go somewhere else, and lo and behold, it didn't work out. Or it did, depending on your perspective. But it's just this mind-bending game that, for me, the mystery just kept me going. What was real? What wasn't real? I mean, the sound design and the graphics were just incredible. There was a super surprise moment on one of Alan's journeys that just, like, I was giggling and laughing because it was so funny but awesome at the same time. And the use of the live action was done really damn well at this. This is a team that's constantly learning from every single previous entry of the game and implementing and just getting better and better and better. And I mean, that's what you want from a game. That's what you want from everything, Be it an author, be it a musician, be it a director or actor or whoever it is. You always want them to learn and get better. And that's why I actually feel that sometimes being overly negative is not the best option when doing reviews. You should always do like sandwich reviews. So like the combat situation. So, in speaking with sandwich reviews, which is positive, negative, positive. So my negative for Alan Wake is that the combat was a bit meh. The boss fights were meh. Very kind of, they were not. You weren't playing it for that stuff. If you're playing it and you're going, the combat's the best thing about this game, and you don't really like everything else, then you're probably not going to like the game, because the game is really, it's the mystery and it's the story unfolding that is where the magic lies. The combat is, it's fine. It's certainly better than the first Alan Wake game, but it's something that just blew me out of the water. Just wow, and it blew a lot of people out of the water for sure, which is also like another game, bringing me to the very last one. Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Larian Studios are going to have to be a bit careful with their next game, because now when Larian Studios pops up, people are going to pay attention, because this game, even though a lot of people think, it's actually a lot of people were giving out that Spider-Man 2 didn't win, because they were like, what the hell is Baldur's Gate 3? But that's them. That's up to them. But Baldur's Gate 3. I have played this game. I have certainly cleared it. I am on my second playthrough. And I'm finding new stuff. That is nuts. That is like when you play Skyrim, take a shot, right? And you play it and you decide, hey, I'm gonna do exploring, I'm gonna go over there, and you find something new, and you're like, what? Or you decide to talk to someone random and they give you a whole new quest, and you're like, what the hell? This is like Baldur's Gate 3, like, you make your character from a myriad of races. Some of them have sub-races. And then you choose one of the classes, a myriad set of classes. And some of them you get to choose the subclass straight away. Others you get it later in the game. Each class has about 3 subclasses unless it's the wizard. The wizard has plenty more, which adds even more customization to your character. Then there's also color dyes. So you can actually essentially have you and all your party wearing the same armor, but color them different. And even your weapons, you can color them different. There's a myriad of weapons, a myriad of spells, magical artifacts, tackling situations in whatever way you want. Be the good guy, be the bad guy, be indifferent. That is up to you. To how the story unfolds is totally and utterly up to you. It is nuts. It is the definition of when someone says you can make hundreds of choices. The dialogue options. There are loads, because you have a choice of making your own character or choosing an origin character, which, if for anyone who is aware of Baldur's Gate 3, would be aware of these origin characters such as Astarion or Karlach, Shadowheart, and their dialogue options are different to your custom character because they're written about based on what would that person say. So what would Astarion say? What would Karlach or Shadowheart, Lae'zel, what would they say in that situation? And then with the custom character, they have their versions. But then as a custom character, there is what their what class you've chosen. Even I think as well, your background can influence things as well, or I think it just influences how you get inspiration. But your class will determine that stuff. So which I would imagine with the custom characters, their classes also determine certain dialogue options. You have, yes, these amazing characters. It's like back again to when you're playing Mass Effect and you have these great companions with these great fleshed out stories, especially Mass Effect 2, when you have those loyalty missions, except that this time the loyalty missions for these characters drag out throughout the whole campaign, and their characters evolve and change as the story goes. It's freaking nuts. Baldur's Gate 3. It won Game of the Year. It is my Game of the Year for 2023 because of just how much options you have, how much replayability there is to this game. Again, on my second playthrough, I've already discovered things that are new. I never discovered that the first time. There's a multiplayer option. I haven't really tried out the multiplayer option. I can't wait to try out the multiplayer option. I can't wait for Chris to get it. Chris, just freaking get it. And when he has it, we can play the multiplayer option. And I think that just add a whole new level of fun to it. Because I've seen a video of of Elijah Wood and Sean Astin, who are most famous for playing Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee, respectively. And I mean, they played it. They looked like they were having loads of fun, and they were just like, again, blown by the customization of it, because it is crazy. Just the level you can go to. This is certainly an 18's game. This is this more borderlines closer to being not necessarily the same grittiness as The Witcher, but certainly the same mature content as The Witcher. There is racism in it, there is nudity in it, there is lots of violence in it. There's genuinely points in it which was like, I have committed like a massacre. It's pretty nasty, but it was great. In video game terms, that's great. Not reality terms, before anyone decides to cancel me. And just having the story unfold, just like that was actually another game where these twists and turns took me by surprise. It was so refreshing this year to have that, like surprises, playing something and being surprised and being shocked. It's just not a thing I get a lot nowadays, and so this year was jam-packed with it, and that was so refreshing. And this game has no exception. There are so many twists and turns. Every main character has an in-depth story, has an in-depth relationship with you, an in-depth relationship with the world, and just how the whole thing unfolds is just magnificent. One of my friends actually got the game recently, and he says he now understands Dungeons and Dragons and how the game works, because I've introduced him among some of my other friends to D&D. We've been playing a bit, and I mean that's a beautiful thing as well, that this game can help people get into it or understand it. And it's just another excellent RPG in a long line of excellent RPGs that have come out over the many years. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to assume, actually, for Baldur's Gate 3, there's going to be an expansion of some sort, because that's the way games go nowadays, is that usually there's some sort of DLC or expansion or something like that. So I can't wait to see what that is, and I can't wait to see what Larian Studios does next. But they're really going to have to amp up. But I'd say, again, that's another company like Remedy, who made Alan Wake 2, that they have learned from the previous games, because they made Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, and I think they learned a lot when making them to then do this truly wonderful, magnificent thing, which was Baldur's Gate 3. I'm sorry for rambling. I'm sorry if that made absolutely no sense, if that was so boring to use to listen to. I'm not 100% sure, but that is the 5 games that stood out to me from 2023 with their various reasons, and I'm sure I could go into more, but I don't want to be boring you or wasting any more of your time, so I'm going to wrap it up here. And again, Chris is doing another one, so I do recommend checking that out. Last Call Gaming has done one, so check that out too. And this is only a bonus episode, the official first episode of the Brothers Take, containing all 3 of us, or hopefully all 3 of us. Should be out soon, next week, hopefully, and we will then see you at that. And I hope you check it out. I hope you enjoyed this video and it wasn't boring and an absolute mess and a waste of your time. So give us the old thumbs up, the old likes, which I think is the same thing, the old subscribing and the ringing the bell and all that sort of stuff that people do on the old social medias. I don't know, I'm an old man in a young person's body, but you kids know what yous are doing, so I'll see yous at the next shindig. Goodbye.